Morning, guys, and happy Wednesday. Um, Today we're going to be starting by talking about perimeter area and volume. Now, just as a reminder, when we're talking about perimeter area and volume, perimeter is the distance around the outside of something. Area is the amount of space inside of a two-dimensional or a flat object, and volume is the amount of three-dimensional space. So we're talking about a length, a width, and now we have a height for volume. So for this first part, the directions just say determine whether each example below is an example of perimeter, area, or volume. So you just have to write one of those words in for each. So we'll do a couple of these together. So the first one says the amount of grass space in a backyard. So that's the amount of flat space in a backyard. So it's definitely not going to be volume because it's talking about the amount of flat space. It's not just talking about around the edge, it's talking about all of the space. So that's going to be an example of area. The amount of space inside of your closet, that is going to be a three-dimensional space because you have room to fit things inside of your closet, and you also have a height there. So the amount of space inside your closet is going to be an example of volume. Think about these as you go through and think about what it's talking about. Is it just talking about around the edge? Well, then that's perimeter. Is it talking about flat space, the amount of room that you have? That is area. And is it talking about holding something that's three-dimensional that has a height? Then that's going to be volume. So just be careful in each of those. Think about what each of those words mean. All right. Going down, we are going to be finding the seventh number in each of these number sets, which means the seventh number in each pattern. Now, the first thing I notice is there's 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers. So I need to find 3 more, because that would be number 5, number 6, and number 7. So I'm going to find 3 more there. In order to figure out what's happening here, we have to figure out what are we adding or subtracting each time. Well, first thing I notice here is my pattern is getting bigger, so it is increasing. When a pattern is increasing, we generally think of it being multiplication or addition. Now, we did figure out that is not always true. You could divide and get a bigger number, for example. But in most cases, multiplication and addition is what we think of. Now, when I'm trying to figure out by how much is it getting bigger, I'm noticing that from each stage, it's getting slightly bigger, but not like too much bigger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take these first 2 numbers, which is 18 and 9.5, and I'm going to subtract them to figure out how much bigger I'm getting, or maybe what I'm adding each time. So when I subtract 18 and 9.5, I get 8.5. Okay, so let's see if the same thing happens between 26.5 and 18. So 26.5 and 18, I again get 8.5. That tells me then that I must be adding 8 5/10 each time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8 5/10 to 35. So 35 plus 8 5/10 is going to give me 43 5/10. So that's my 5th number. And then I'm just going to have to do that same thing 2 more times in order to get all the way up to my 7th number, because I'm adding 8.5 over and over, and I'm doing that all the way up to my 7th term. All right, so for my second piece here, I see some fractions, which changes things as well. Now, again, I notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers, so I'm looking for 3 more again. 5th number, 6th number, and the 7th number. So again, my pattern is increasing. I just have to figure out what it's increasing by. Well, I notice right from the start, I go from 1 to 3, and I go from 1/4 to 1/2. So both my whole number increased and my fraction increased. So my whole number increased from 1 to 3 by 2. And my fraction from 1/4 to 1/2, if I think that 1/2 is the same as 2/4, my fraction went from 1/4 to 2/4, which is going up 1/4. So we basically increased here 2 1/4. Now, we're going to be doing that every time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the number 8 and I'm going to add 2 1/4 to it. 8 plus 2 is 10. So the fifth number would be 10 1/4, and so on, adding that same number each time in order to get up to that seventh number. So think about when you see a problem like this, think about what is it asking you. Well, the seventh number is what it's asking for, and then think about whether we're increasing or decreasing, and we can work from there. Awesome. So let's head to our last section here. So word problem. It says, Josie, Corinne, Kaya, and Mr. Lacey recently started their own four-person singing group called We Sing Songs. Josie usually makes up dances and songs and forces the other three to sing them. Ask them to perform a song when you see them for the rest of the week. Just last weekend, they sang 14 songs. So they sang 14 songs for $1.49 each. I mean, that's how much they charge. $1.49 for each of those 14 songs. They also performed 12 dances. Okay. And it says they made $21.10 in total. So these are three different things here. So they performed 14 songs, of which they made $1.49 each. They performed 12 dances, and in total for all of that, they made $21.10. The question says, how much for a dance? How much are they charging for a dance? All right. So in order to figure that out, I know first that they made $21.10 in total. So I have to think about what part of that is dancing, what part of that is singing. Well, I know what part of it is singing because they sing 14 songs for $1.49 each. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply $1.49 times 14. That's going to tell me what portion of that went to singing. Now, when I say what portion of that, I'm talking about what portion of this $21.10. How much of that $21.10 was singing? So once I've multiplied $1.49 times 14, that's the singing part. I'm going to subtract it from my total. So we'll call this X. I'm going to subtract that from my total of $21.10. Now, what that's going to leave me with is just the dancing part. And now remember, there's 12 dances. So if I know that there's 12 dances, I know that's just the dancing part. What I'm left with is the total for all the dances. Think of how I can split that up into 12 different pieces. It sounds like I'm going to have to divide in that last step. So think about that as you're going through. Think about those three steps that are all going to be really important there. Awesome job, guys. I'm really looking forward to today. And I hope you guys are having an awesome day. See you guys later.